Welcome back, Knuckleheads. I am Lupine Fiasco, and this is Daily FaB Gameplay. For anyone who's new to the channel, welcome to the jungle. What we do here is review replays of games that I played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed, that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I will talk through turn cycles and give my thoughts on the line I would take now, compared to the line I took then at the time of recording. We either reinforce good play patterns or identify areas for improvement for the purpose of tightening and improving our gameplay in the future to take down paper events like the upcoming Skirmish and ProQuest season, and, most importantly, walk away with that shiny cardboard. If you'd like to check out the list I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. The best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and a Patreon link is also in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you access to the DFG Discord and the shiny cardboard Talishar card back. At higher tiers, your name will appear in every DFG video, and you could receive bonus DFG content every week. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so those who can afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. I also now am on X, and if you would like to see memes, inane comments, and the occasional self-promotion, head on over to X and follow Lupine Fiasco. Now, without further ado, let's talk about our sideboard and about our game plan. This is going to be a weird Enigma game. Right off the bat, our opponent does leave sort of on the pop-off turn, but I'm going to show it anyway. It shows off what I'm trying to do with Savage Sash and Beaten Trackers, and with Talishar's ability to look at the top cards of your deck after the game ends, we can extrapolate how the game would have ended, and I just think it's worth posting. So this video game does show off how I'm approaching the Enigma matchup at this point. I'm still using Savage Sash, and I know other Kayo players are on Spring Tunic, just trying to put those 2-card Wild Ride, Mandible Claw turns, or Mandible Claw, discard Wind Up, 2 for 6 turns together. But I think Sash is really strong for dealing with Enigma's Manifestation of Miragai turn and just giving you that extra chain link or even 2 extra chain links to punch through all of the ward. Beaten Trackers is my new tech for the matchup. Some people have been on this for a long time. Trackers are not anything new, but they can represent a 4th Blood Rush turn when you can give your your Bear Fangs go again effectively, or if you play a Wild Ride and say you draw into 2 Swing Bigs, a blue, and you have your floating resource, you can break your trackers and send 16 damage after the Wild Ride. So it is sort of Blood Rush number 4. It can even be just massive Blood Rush if your turn lines up for it. And against Enigma, it is all about trying to punch through the ward when she lands that first manifestations. And if she even puts a second manifestation behind it, well, now the pressure is really on us to put these massive turns together, and the equipment is really how we're doing it. As far as the cards in the deck, the only real swap I'm making is that I'm adding the weakest link and cutting Send Packing, which is based on how much ward Enigma can put together and how many defense reactions she's playing. Send Packing has the potential to hit a D-React from Arsenal, and Enigma has to scramble to put it together. But in my experience, she very rarely has to block 6, if she has to block at all. Enigma plays a good number of instants, so if she does have a Transcend instant in Arsenal and you play Send Packing, she can even just play it at instant speed, and now Send Packing has no on-hit. And I've said it many times before, and I'll say it again, if Send Packing is not doing the thing, or even threatening your opponent in any way, then it is just 3 for 6, and we would rather have it be 2 for 6 by bringing in the weakest link. The weakest link does have targets in this matchup. Enigma plays Transcend Instants. She plays Manifestations of Miragai, which can't block. She plays other ward cards, which can be played as a reaction to the weakest link's hit effect, but we are forcing her to do it on our turn. She doesn't get the luxury of doing it on her turn, and if she is pitching a blue to play a Waxing Spectre or a Waning Vengeance, then she loses those resources before the start of her next turn, and maybe it costs her an attack. So the weakest link does apply decent enough pressure that we're happy to play it. We might have an issue at some point where you're playing 9 generic attacks and they don't work with your Blood Rush Bellow, but I don't think Send Packing is strong enough in this matchup to justify the inclusion. Outside of that, like I've said, we are putting Blood Rush turns together, using your beaten trackers judiciously, and you're just trying to put these big turns together when Enigma sticks her ward. Action points are how we win this game. That's why we're running 6 Wild Rides, 3 Pulpings, and 3 E-Strikes. We want to be able to convert 4-card hands as often as we can to keep Enigma's board relatively clear. So with all that being said, let's just jump into it. Having lost, that isn't true. We won the die roll. Our opponent chose to go first, which is not what I would recommend for this matchup. I really think that either Enigma or Kayo want to go second if they can. That is assuming that Enigma plays like Bad Guardian, which she very often does in the Zen meta. She's playing a lot of 2 for 6 disruption. But potentially Enigma is running more ward than we would expect, and if she can land a few Waxing Spectre's Waning Vengeances on her turn 0, then that makes it difficult for us to push damage on turn 1. This hand is fine. We don't have natural go again. Thankfully, Enigma is going to oblige us by attacking with the weakest link, so we will block with weakest link riled up. There's a world where Enigma has Pummel here. Pummels are showing up in a lot of Enigma lists, but even if we do get pummeled, we lose the 2 cards in our hand. Enigma draws back up, which could potentially give her an arsenal after pushing 4, but we do just draw back up. So even if we had a 3rd non-block in hand and we're only able to cover the weakest link for 3, it's fine. Enigma's just going to flash out Restless Coalescence. This is not when you want to use your Restless, but I do think that just sticking Ward 2 is better than taking an intellect penalty to try to line it up with an Enigma activation. Drawing the E-Strike here is nice. We are just going to play out 4 cards here. E-Strike go again, followed by Bare Fangs for 8 and make a Might. If we could end the turn with an arsenal, that'd be great, but we are sending multiple chain links. We're attacking for 13 points of damage. We're making a Might. So this is a good scenario for us to be in. At this point, we are just trying to clear out Restless Coalescence. Hold the line here, getting great value because we have not triggered the effect. Enigma playing Grain that tips the scale is a little interesting. We're going to see how this plays out because she can always do this in our resolution step after damage has been dealt, so that she doesn't take an extra 1 point of damage from the E-Strike. She could also save it for when we follow up with Bare Fangs and use Grains on the first attack, and us using the go again on E-Strike should indicate that we are going to be following it up. And you might think, well, maybe she needed to chi to play something like an Unravel Aggression or a Mirror Guy, whatever it was, but no, she did just take an extra point of damage there. So to all of you watching this game, if you play Mystic Heroes and you ever find yourself in a situation where you need to use Grain that tips the scale on your opponent's attack, know that you can do it after damage has been dealt so that you don't take extra damage. Bare Fangs hits. Obviously, we're not going to break trackers here. We attack for 8, we make a Might. So, great turn cycle for us. We even sneak in an extra point of damage that we weren't expecting from that Grain that tips the scale. We get a block out of Enigma, so she is holding on to 3 cards. We know that one of them is a chi, and we see that chi used here to play out a Waxing Spectre. Following up with Levels of Enlightenment, I think is a little shaky. Levels is going to draw a card here, but just send Waxing for 4 and then Arsenal the Levels. Levels is a fantastic card to have in your arsenal as any of the Mystic Heroes. As far as what we want to do with this hand, we could think about blocking this with Clash of Might. We take no damage, we generate a Might. That just sounds bad when we have Wild Ride and a blue. I want to play the Wild Ride, I want to pitch run Roughshod, I want to try to search for a blue so that I can follow up with Mandible Claw 2 for 6. And Levels here really doesn't represent any threatening on hits. It's just damage, and it isn't even that much damage. Just real quick, going back to why I didn't block with Clash, it's that I really want to send multiple chain links. Action points are how we win this matchup. We need to get this Waxing Spectre off the board. So if we block with Clash of Might, our best line is going to be Wild Ride for 8, followed by Mandible Claw for 3, for a total of 11. But if we keep the Clash of Might here, at a minimum, we get to send 13 damage. At a maximum, we get to send 16. And compared to 11, that's going to be way more productive for getting this Waxing Spectre off the board. We also want to lead with Wild Ride and not Pulping, because our Enigma has an arsenal. She plays a lot of defense reactions, typically, so we can not necessarily put her on a D-React in Arsenal, but we do need to acknowledge the possibility. This is another Restless Coalescence instead. Enigma going to do some weird counter stuff. Here she is going to be able to cover all 7 of the damage with Traverse, Waxing Spectre, and Coalescence. Coalescence makes a Spectral Shield before it dies. Enigma sitting with a 5-card hand, one of those cards is Chi. So we can kind of put her on Manifestation of Miragai. Clawing here is fine because we just got the Waxing Spectre off the board. We get to Arsenal of Pulping. Again, always sort of a shaky proposition with how many D-Reacts Enigma is holding, but with just a Spectral Shield on the board, I think arsenaling the Pulping is fine. If Enigma had committed more to protecting that Waxing Spectre, then sending Pulping here would be a great call, especially considering that she just played out of Arsenal, because the Pulping would be more or less guaranteed to get the Waxing Spectre off the board unless Enigma had something like an Unmovable in hand. But at this point, we can Arsenal the Pulping, hold on to our action points for next turn. Especially if we're considering that we think Enigma has Manifestation of Miragai in hand, and there it is. We do want to be holding on to some action points. Manifestation attacking for 8 with Go again. We don't want to block this from hand because we would like to break our Savage Sash. This is not a good Sash hand. We really want a blue. We want this CNC or this Pack Hunt to be a blue so that we can break Sash, play Wild Ride, float 2 resources, and have a chance to discard Beast Within. What we're going to do instead is break Savage Sash to play Wild Ride and pitch Pack Hunt. We have a 33% chance to discard Beast Within, but we also have now a Mandible Claw and a Pulping follow-up, or a Pulping follow-up to the Wild Ride based on how Enigma uses her arsenal. We're gonna be able to send 4 chain links this turn unless our draw discard is just abysmal. And that is what we want to put together to get this Manifestation off the board. So that means we're going to block with Savage Sash. We're also going to block with Beaten Trackers in case we put ourselves in a position where we need to break trackers. We want to at least have gotten our 1 point of value from it. We could think about if we want to use Fleshbag here, but I kind of want to encourage Enigma to play both of the cards in her hand if she's able to, so that my Pulping is more likely to connect. And with us intending to play Wild Ride and Pulping in the same turn, I'm not super committed to holding on to CNC. There is a very good chance that I do discard it. And if I do, then I got punished for using my Fleshbag and letting Enigma put a card into Arsenal. Talking about why I didn't block with the Savage Sash and the trackers there, It is the alternate line where we're sort of hedging on Enigma's follow-up to the Mirror Guy being Command and Conquer or the weakest link, in which case we're in some trouble because we just gave our armor and now we need to use Flesh Bag for no value. I call it a hedge because with Enigma having 2 cards and an action point, there is another line where she activates Uphold Tradition, as she did, gets 2 more damage to one Mirror Guy, then plays a Haze Bending or a Shimmers of Silver and passes the turn. Arsenal's a card. And if that is what Enigma does, then we have just lost potential 2 points of block from our Savage Sash. We know that we want to break Sash on our next turn, so we want to get that block value. The reason to hold on to Sash, as opposed to just saying, you know what, if it's Command and Conquer, we've got Bonebreaker, Trackers, and Pack Hunt. We're covered. We'll block 6. Is at that point we don't know what Enigma's gloves are. And if Enigma's gloves are Waves of Aquamarine to give Command and Conquer +1, make it 7, now we're only blocking 6, we're in some trouble. So it was a hedge. I think taking that hedge is fine. We do get to block this E-Strike for 3 with armor. I think we are probably better off not blocking the Mirror Guy, so a good call during this game to hold that armor just in case. But just keep in mind, there is very much a world where we get punished for not having blocked the Mirror Guy, because Enigma can just play a Spectra Aura and pass the turn. We're going to break Sash, we're going to fire off the Wild Ride. Enigma has an arsenal. We can't necessarily put her on not having that D-React as if she had E-Striked for 7. At this point, we can reorder our triggers so that Beast Within resolves before Trackers. We get to see what the top card of our deck is and know if we do want to make that second action point. If the top card of our deck doesn't have Go Again, I might think about it, because I might want to play Command and Conquer before I play Pulping, so that I can get a little more damage and guaranteed. But instead we are going to show a Wild Ride, so we have another action point. We don't need to break Trackers yet. We can just follow this Wild Ride with another Wild Ride. We do get a Sink Below out of Enigma's arsenal, so glad that we did not play our Pulping there. At this point, I still want to open with Wild Ride. No, I disagree with this line, because I want the potential to play Wild Ride and Pulping, and there is a chance that our Pulping discards our Wild Ride. So I think this is actually not a good line. I would have liked to open with Wild Ride and then play Pulping. We get lucky enough that we don't discard our Pulping, so we are fine, but still a misplay in my estimation. When you do your Sash line with your draw discard Go Again, you want to play the one in hand before the one in arsenal, so that there is no chance the one in arsenal discards the one from your hand. Here we do catch a bad break. I mean, yes and no. We've had a very good turn so far. We do catch a bad break, though, that we discard our Command and Conquer and replace it with a blue. We are just going to pitch that blue to Mandible Claw. We'd rather do that than stick a bad blue in our arsenal. And we've leveled out the life totals pretty well. We got Manifestation off the board. Enigma no longer has Traverse the Universe, so we don't really have to worry about second big Mirror Guy coming down. It's very possible that it can, but Enigma's going to have to work for it. Command and Conquer is just a vanilla 6. We have a few lines. We could just E-Strike for 12 this turn, E-Strike for 5 Go Again, followed by E-Strike for 7. That doesn't seem very good. What we can do instead is block with Pack Hunt. We could even give our Bonebreaker if we wanted to guarantee our Bonebreaker value, but I still like holding on to it in case of disruption because I do want to arsenal this Wild Ride. So let's block with Pack Hunt. On our turn, we will E-Strike for 8, bottoming E-Strike, and then arsenaling Wild Ride. Just making sure our arsenal has a turn extender in it, that we have those action points available in case more ward comes down, and Wild Ride can actually trigger our beaten trackers as opposed to E-Strike, which can't. So either one is a turn extender, but I do think it's better to arsenal that Wild Ride. We get another hold the line from Enigma, which more great value. She uses the Tunic, so kind of a weird little line coming down from our Enigma opponent. She's going to block 6 here, and we're expecting that she's going to use that resource to play something with Transcend. She does end up using a yellow, as well as the Tunic to play Sacred Art. So she does only get 2 Spectral Shields. They both have +1 counters, so a decent enough looking board from Enigma. We know that she has a Chi in hand. So this is an interesting decision to make where we can put our Flesh Bag in front of this Spectral Shield. Enigma then has the opportunity to pitch her Chi to make a 3rd Spectral Shield. But what it means is that she has to do that. She can't follow this Spectral Shield by pitching Chi to attack with Spectral Shield number 2. It's kind of a weird line where we have to decide what we think Enigma is going to do. Do we waste our Flesh Bag because Enigma was always just going to pitch the Chi to make a Spectral Shield? Or is our Flesh Bag worth 4 points of value because it blocks 2 and prevents another 2 from the follow-up? It's very hard to get value out of Flesh Bag against Enigma because so often she is just blocking with 1 or 2 cards, sending a 2-cost 6, and then arsenaling whatever's left. So I think Flesh Bagging here is fine. It's a weird one because we can also put her on potentially having Miraging Metamorph or a Command and Conquer follow-up to a Spectral Shield. It's a weird one. I think you are right either way if you use the Flesh Bag or save it, but I don't particularly mind forcing Enigma to use her Chi here, knowing that we're preventing 4 damage overall, and we're about to have a very big turn with Wild Ride, followed by, at minimum, Swing Big. We even draw a blue. So there are 2 ways we can play out the rest of this turn. We can Mandible Claw CNC. We could also break trackers and CNC Swing Big. That line feels worse to me. If Enigma had an arsenal, then following the Wild Ride would seem okay. Even then, it's a little iffy. If we break trackers and Enigma plays a D-React from arsenal, we just wasted trackers. Tracking here is not the right call. We are just going to let this go. We drew this blue, so we get to Mandible Claw 2 for 6 or 2 for 8. We can decide whether we think the CNC is better holding it for Enigma to have an arsenal on a future turn, or do we hold the Swing Big because we are waiting for a Blood Rush Bellow, and at this point, we haven't seen a Blood Rush yet. So I am actually leaning towards arsenaling the Swing Big because it's going to work a lot better with that Blood Rush turn. We also potentially get value if Enigma has 2 Sink Belows in hand, but we think she probably would have used one of those on the Wild Ride. The CNC here is just 2 for 6. And look at that, we draw into a Blood Rush. So we're seeming okay so far. The second tenant of Chi has Super Go again. So this is going to be 5 Go again. Enigma makes a Chi. We're expecting that she's going to pitch that into her hero power and then attack us with the Spectral Shield. So we'll end this turn at 14. And then we get to 5-card Blood Rush. There is not a world Where I'm blocking with Clash of Might here, I don't have Savage Sash left, so I can't discount my attacks. If we block with Clash of Might, pitch a blue to play for Blood Rush, and then draw 2 reds, we are in some trouble. If we at least hold on to Clash of Might, we keep Clash of Might, we discard a blue, we draw 2 reds, we get to break Sash and play our 2 big things, which sounds okay. Here I'm counting my Wild Rides. We're also seeing 2 E-Strikes, and knowing that we bottomed a 3rd one, there is very little Go Again left in my deck. There's a Pulping as well, so just another reason to hold on to all 4 cards in hand rather than blocking with Clash of Might, that there is not much of a chance that we draw into a turn extender, and we are just going to want that possibility of playing 2 for 6s or 2 for 8s. Should pitch our Wrecker Romp instead of our Pack Call, so that we keep a 6 power attack in the deck for potential Bonebreaker blocks. We need to decide up front if we're going to break our trackers or not, knowing that we have both a Swing Big in Arsenal and a Clash of Might in hand. I think breaking trackers makes a lot of sense, especially considering that we have a fairly low chance of drawing a turn extender. Except we do now see our opponent AFKs, which was really a shame. I was really excited to see how that turn was going to play out. It was a very even game. And so this is where we get to extrapolate a bit on how this game would have gone. Enigma has 2 Transcend instants in hand, so we break our trackers and we draw 2 cards. We have 2 resources floating with a Swing Big and a Clash of Might in hand. The 2 cards that we draw are Wild Ride and Assault and Battery, so we do kind of get punished for assuming we weren't going to draw a turn extender, because we do find one we would not have needed to break Sash. At the same time, we now have 2 resources floating, we have blue in hand, so we have 5 resources total, and then we also have that Wild Ride that could potentially be Mandible Claw. With our 2 action points, I like opening the turn with Swing Big. Swing Big attacks for 10, Spectral Shield makes it 9, the drop in the ocean in Enigma's hand makes it 8. So if Enigma is playing well, she is going to lead with Rising Sun Setting Moon, then play Drop in the Ocean. Drop will resolve first, put a Chi into Enigma's hand, and now Enigma gets to draw a card. Give me a second, I'll get there in just a minute. I'm trying to figure out how to close windows. There it is. The card Enigma draws is Second Tenet of Chi, which is a 2 block. So at this point, she has 4 cards in her hand. Chi, Manifestation, Miragai, and a 3 block. And the question is, how greedy is she? She's going to make a second Chi because of Rising Sun Setting Moon transcending. So if she bottoms a Chi, then gets a Chi, she now can play Manifestation to block for 4, and will have a 3 block and a 2 block in hand. So she can effectively cover the entire Swing Big and have 2 block remaining. And at that point, let's see, will I navigate back to what's on top of my deck just so we can visualize what the rest of my hand looks like? Enigma also has her Meridian Pathway, which blocks for 3 after she uses the ability from pitching Chi to play Big Miragai, and she has Fiandal Spring Tunic. So effectively, after blocking out the Swing Big entirely, she has 6 effective health. I'm really not going to look at the top of my deck. Okay. She has 6 effective health plus her 15, so she has 21 health remaining. We get to pitch our blue. The best way to maximize damage this turn, we pitch our blue to attack with Mandible Claw for 5 go again. Enigma is now at an effective 16. And then we play our Clash of Might for 8, putting Enigma down to 10. And, putting Enigma down to 8 and burning through all of her available defensive resources. We then draw back up into Command and Conquer, Blood Rush Bellow, Run Roughshod, and Bare Fangs. And Enigma draws up into Hold the Line, Second Tendency, Unmovable, and Rage Spectre, which is a very good defensive hand considering that we have second Blood Rush coming up. We are going to play that second Blood Rush. Enigma will be able to block 5, 8, 15. We are sort of at the mercy of what our Blood Rush is going to discard. If we pitch our blue, play Blood Rush, and we keep Command and Conquer, actually we are pushing a very good amount of damage. We attack with Mandible Claw. Enigma can block the Claw for 5 with Hold the Line. We then play Command and Conquer. Enigma can give us her 2/3 blocks to cover 6, and then Arsenal Unmovable. We can discard Agile Windup to make an Agility, and then we draw into Agile Windup, Bare Fangs, Beast Within, Beast Within. We have a pretty good chance that we are going to discard a Beast Within. Beast Within triggers, we draw Riled Up from the Beast Within, and then we also get a Blood Rush Bellow from Bare Fangs, and that might put the game away. It's a weird game to extrapolate out because of how defensively Enigma is going to draw, and how our Blood Rushes are going to line up really poorly with her Hold the Line and Unmovable. I'm really sad that our opponent left. I would have liked to see how this plays out. But what we have in our favor is that we have run our opponent out of 2 Mirror Guys in her surviving this Blood Rush turn. And by the time she finds 3rd Mirror Guy, she might not have the chi to play it. We can see that Passover and Mirror Guy are surrounded by a few reds. So she might not be able to play the 3rd Mirror Guy for full value, and if Enigma has now burned through 3 Mirror Guys, and we're still sitting at above 10 health, I feel really good about my chances of winning this game. We've got some Go Again coming up. We have that 3rd Blood Rush is coming up, and it is not going to line up with a Hold the Line. So I feel okay about this game. Would have loved to play it out, but still feel good showing it to you. I felt like trackers really did add a lot to the strategy of the game, and I thought that I was right to hold it until I did use it, and just wanted to show that to you. Wanted to show you the new tech, and I do think that trackers is the way to go against Enigma. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it taught you something. If so, be sure to take that like button to Pound Town. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free, it helps me out a lot. I have a Patreon, I have a Twitter. Links to those socials are in the video description below. And until the next time I see you on Daily FaB Gameplay, take care.